All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking on the top prop bets in the MLB and NBA today. Let's go ahead and get into it. But first, we are going to start off with a quick recap from yesterday, guys. So yesterday on the day, the bet of the day picks went 8 for 12. So a day that we would certainly take. NBA-wise, 2 for 5. You know, some of the games, again, I kind of reiterate this, did not go the way Vegas thought. So obviously not going to gain edges there. The first MLB slip that I gave out ended up hitting here. That's the one that I've displayed here. Went 4 for 4. So obviously going to be a profitable day for us there, going 4 for 4. And then the other MLB slip that I gave out was a little bit frustrating, going 2 for 3. And it was frustrating because it was a 6 slip bet. We had a DNP, a push, and then 1 miss. So a little bit annoying there. That does happen occasionally in MLB. But, you know, kind of the hot streak that we have been on continues here. Really, the bets have been going really ideally how, you know, personally, as someone that gives out content and picks, that's exactly how I'd want it to go, where we're not on this roller coaster. It's just a steady amount of good picks that are being given out each slate. So hopefully that continues with this slate. I'm actually going to start off with one of the better bets that we are getting on the board today. And that first bet is going to be looking at Matt Chapman to get over his fantasy score of 5.5. So first and foremost, we are just going to notice by looking at the data that the line that is clearly the outlier data point is going to be the PrizePicks line. Already, guys, with this being a bet that has a 54% edge and PrizePicks is a clear outlier data point, this is going to be a good bet that we would already want to chase. And then on top of that, he actually is one of the players that gets a good BVP matchup here. Okay, so Chapman's going against Eduardo Rodriguez. In 16 at-bats, he has 7 hits, so a batting average of 438. He has 5 extra bases in those, one of them being a home run, 5 RBIs, and then 2 bases on balls. He does have 6 Ks, though, so don't exactly love that, but still, obviously a very good matchup for him, and him at 5.5 for his hitting fantasy score should clearly not be there. And then real quickly, I do want to call out 2 Brewers prop bets that we are getting as good prop bets as well, kind of just in terms of getting clear edges that are similar to Matt Chapman. These 2 will not make the bet of the day, but I want to call them out because they were actually 2 bets that popped up yesterday as well for the exact same situations, did not end up hitting, but I am perfectly fine going back to the well with them, even though they didn't hit yesterday, even more so, just given the fact that they didn't hit yesterday, kind of the team struggled as a whole, obviously didn't meet their run total that they're projected to get, so I'm fine with that, but Yelich, for over his fantasy score, again, just a clear outlier compared to the underdog line, compared to the projection line, and compared to the average sportsbook line as well. And that's going to be the same for his teammate, Wilson Contreras, as well. Basically, the exact same spot yesterday as well. Again, just the lines are too low. I mean, we can just look, guys, and see that the underdog line is much more in line with what Vegas is thinking and the projection is thinking. That's really been the case lately in MLB. There's been mostly good days in MLB, but again, yesterday, these 2 did end up missing. And this game probably will go live by the time most of you guys get in there, so we'll see. If you guys want to bet on some of those unders, you can certainly do that as well. I do want to go ahead and touch on a few more bets that we are getting here as well. Going to flash you guys some of the top prop bets that we're getting here, but let's talk about really one of the better ones I think that we have. That's going to be Cal Raleigh to get over his hitting fantasy score of 5.5. So again, just like the other ones, this is one of those bets where, again, we're getting a clear edge, especially comparing the average sportsbook line to the underdog line. We're seeing that that is just a good spot to get to. The projection data probably a little bit aggressive there at 8.62, but again, we like that. That bodes well for us. So that's a bet that we'd like to see. Now, I will say I'm not the biggest fan of chasing like catchers prop bets for their overs. I just don't love it, but he has been on a pretty consistent hitting streak here, which I like to see. Against New York, 7, 16, and then, you know, Toronto, 4, 4, and 7. So, you know, been consistently hitting the baseball and, you know, scoring fantasy points. If they're telling me that, let's just say you peek at their line that we're getting 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs as the standard line, I'm okay with that. And if he obviously gets that, then he's going to get over his 5.5 for his fantasy score. And so again, the data is kind of telling us to do that there as well. And another good over fantasy score prop bet that we're getting for hitting fantasy score is going to be Willy Adames to get over 5.5 for his hitting fantasy score. Again, just looking at it, guys, the PrizePicks line at 5 is clearly the lowest line among the bunch. The average sportsbook line at 6.5, the projection line at 7, and then the underdog line at 6.5. All that bodes really well for us here in terms of the good lines that we are getting. Now, when we look at Adames, he has been hitting the baseball really well, but I do want to call it that he does have a bad BVP against Eduardo Rodriguez. So obviously, if we're pairing Chapman and Adames together, we are just betting on that being a good stack. But it is worth calling out Adames against Rodriguez, 10 at-bats, 0 hits. So you could argue that he's due to hit. You know, he's due to have a good game, but that is a little bit concerning there as well. So maybe not a perfect bet, but I would say if we're using Matt Chapman, we're probably going to use this bet as well. But that's probably why there's a prop line difference there. And then we are getting one other MLB prop bet that I want to specifically call it because it is a clear edge for us. Again, with MLB, guys, we are getting a bunch of good just over fantasy score prop bets where it is tough to kind of reduce down exactly which ones we should be going out of our way to target, because the answer is all of them. But I know most people are not going to be going through and placing all these bets, even if they are using the 9-to-5 slip optimizer, like they're still not going to be placing them. So we can reduce it down, and I want to call it the Chris Bassett one. This is one where we are clearly, again, gaining an edge. Okay, and I actually like pitching fantasy score prop bets much more than I do hitting fantasy scores, just because I feel like they're a little bit more reliable. Obviously, for like hitting fantasy scores, you're really banking on something that occurs about 300 to about 0.300, right? Batting average wise, which don't exactly love that. Like you're chasing lines like that, which is not always the best. Whereas pitching fantasy score is very much just the pitcher and the matchup, pretty much, right? We're not focused on much else. So I do like to see that this one's popping up. So again, clear edge here. Underdog line has at 29.4. This is actually a spot where maybe it's a potential middle. Okay, so it's basically the difference in probably the difference of how one of them is valuing a win or a quality start, but this is the difference between an extra inning or a pitching strikeout. Like, it shouldn't be off by 3, pretty simply there. And again, we are adjusting for the PrizePicks and Underdog scoring for sure there, but that shouldn't be happening. And the average sportsbook line would have it closer to 31, which is right in the middle there as well. So a seemingly good bet for us there. And I do want to call it, we are getting some under fantasy score prop bets. So it's not like we're just being told like for hitting fantasy score. So it's not like we're just like seeing that PrizePicks is too low with their lines. For the most part, that is kind of the case. But like we are seeing some like Jackson Holland and Duran for under their fantasy scores are bets that are popping up there as well. Worth calling that out to you guys. So now we're going to go ahead and jump on into some NBA bets. And I will say this one that's popping up for Derek White, I don't think I really want to get to. Okay, Tatum is going to be out in this game. And with that, we do know that Derek White is actually someone that picks up a big workload. Now, maybe you could argue that he has been someone that has benefited a lot this postseason with a lack of defensive attention to him because Tatum's on the court, because Jaylen Brown's on the court and whatnot. You could make that argument, but the data says, okay, that Derek White averages 20.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 6.2 assists, 1 steal, 0.7 blocks, okay, for a total of 38 for his fantasy score, which is right at the PrizePicks line. And this is per 36 with Tatum off the court. He has a usage rate of 23.5%, okay? His usage rate goes up by 5. He averages about 4.5 more fantasy points per 36. I do think it's worth calling this out and pulling up on the NBA cheat sheet though. Like all the data points besides the DVP projection, which is adjusting for his projected minutes of 36, like it is all telling us to bet the under. And so the 38 line is like at the peak value of Tatum being off the court per 36 wise. And again, maybe that's why this ends up being a decent bet. Point spread, it is projected to be a close game, but it is a lower scoring game at 208 on average. So did want to call that out to you guys there as well. Jalen Brunson under fantasy score is one that's popping up as well. Not necessarily a bet that I feel like we need to go out of our way to target today. But if you want to get there, you could. And for what's worth, these other bets, Towns, Green, I don't need to get to those ones as well. So it is a tighter board today for NBA purposes. All right, so going ahead and getting to the 9-to-5 bet of the day, guys. Just looking at a 4-slip bet. I am mostly betting 6-slip bets, though. This is just my way of calling out kind of what I view as like the clear edges that we're getting today. Again, Derek White for under his fantasy scores, a bet that's popping up. Have run that out there with this. And just to reiterate, like Adamas for over his fantasy scores, a little bit worrisome, just given the BVP matchup where he is very cold, 0 hits and 10 at bats. But you could also argue he's due. The fact that we're betting Matt Chapman for over his fantasy score does bode well for us as well. Again, plenty of good prop bets going on today. Make sure to check out the rest of those. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all of those tools for just $10 a month, guys. Best value out there. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck with all your bets today. And as always, let's keep cashing.